Today on Here for the Right Reasons, Catherine Lowe opens up about her time in the fantasy suite and gives advice to Michelle's contestants.
Well, I want to do things that we can't do on camera that I feel comfortable with. But for the most part, I feel like you can use that time to really have no guard, like your guard doesn't have to be up in any sense of the word, and you can be totally yourself.
And Michelle has 3 overnight dates, but 1 heartbreaking goodbye. We've got that plus so much more on today's Here for the Right Reasons. Hey guys, Christina Garibaldi here with Us Weekly Senior Editor Sarah Heron. Sarah, we've made it to the fantasy suites.
I cannot believe we have our final 2. This was an emotional episode.
It was a lot of love bombs dropped. Everybody was admitting that they're falling in love. I mean, a very shocking, heartbreaking goodbye. I mean, I thought Joe was going to the end.
I thought so too, but he was the only one she didn't specifically say, I love you back to, which I know we'll get into it. But as I was watching, I was torn for the first time all season. I feel like it could be any of these guys. During the dates, I was sold.
Yes, I feel like she really can't go wrong with any of these guys. But like we said, we're going to break that down a little bit more. But we did catch up with Catherine Lowe this week.
Yes, that's right. And of course, Catherine, the wife of Sean Lowe, who was one of our first virgin bachelors. But they still had a fantasy suite. So let's hear what Catherine told you about the fantasy suite and her advice to Michelle and the contestants.
Mm-hmm. What do you wish you knew before going into fantasy suite week?
Oh gosh, those are good questions. Obsessed with her top 3. I was obsessed with her top 4. I think we're just Tayshia season 2. You see these guys that are like, wow, how do you eliminate anybody? And I think that she, based on what we see, I think she did a good job narrowing it to 3. But I mean, Brandon, every time I stop watching the episode, I go to Sean Lowe and I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy, he loves her so much. He's in his ITM saying, I just want to marry her, with conviction. And he's like, are you sure you don't have a crush on him? I'm like, no, I just love how much he loves her. He loves her. So it's just been a really fun thing to watch, and to watch Michelle just hold her own, be super confident, be very poised, very eloquent, communicate how she feels, also be very decisive and discerning on how she chooses to talk about certain things, and that she's quick. She's an inspiration. And I've just been really enjoying watching her create partnerships and relationships with these guys.
Definitely. And then following up, what do you wish you knew about the fantasy suite before going into it? And if you could give advice to these, obviously they've already gone through it, but if you could give advice to people going through that as well, what would it be?
Well, maybe on Clayton's season,
Yeah, right.
Because that is more similar to my situation.
Right.
But I think taking advantage of the time, because you can talk about anything during those, 12 hours and uninterrupted. I don't know how long, I can't remember how long it was, but it's use the time wisely. I know that I'm sure some of it is very, okay, well, I want to do things that we can't do on camera that I feel comfortable with. But for the most part, I feel like you can use that time to really have no guard, your guard doesn't have to be up in any sense of the word, and you can be totally yourself. I remember in our fantasy suite, I think he snuck in his iPad, which was totally not good. And we just listened to music and talked about what a normal day would be like. And yeah, you can do that besides the music. You can do that on camera, but it just is try to replicate as much as you can of what it's going to look like outside in the real world, so that you can see if you're actually compatible in the real world.
Yeah.
I think that that's something that we did really well, and use the time really wisely.
Yeah, definitely. She has some good advice. It's a lot of time for, just getting to know each other on a different level, no cameras. You can really kind of have those deep conversations. As Catherine said, she just, Sean snuck in an iPad and they listened to some music. So no racy fantasy suite stories, but definitely a place for them to connect on a deeper level.
Yeah. And with Michelle, it's so interesting because she went to the fantasy suite with all 3, which it's been a minute, I feel since we've gotten no one quitting during fantasy suites, no one jumping fences, no one being very vocal about the fact that they are saving themselves. I feel the last couple seasons, we've had a lot of controversy surrounding the fantasy suite. And this was just classic, all three. We don't know what happened, but I'm under the impression that it got pretty hot and heavy in all three.
100%. Well, I'm kind of leaning that way too. But like we've said this before, like, and echoing kind of what you just said, this is a very to the book Bachelorette season. Like every single episode, we've gotten dates, group dates, rose ceremonies. It's very, very by the book, which I kind of appreciate. We haven't had it in a long time. There's no these gigantic drama bombs and things like that. So it's very, very to the book.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think we're going to, as we already know, I know I was out when the Clayton trailer dropped last week, but I cannot wait until January 3rd. And we are about to get a Peter Weber style mess, which I am here for.
We love the mess. We love the mess. We can have a nice love story wrapped up in a little bow from The Bachelorette and then bring on the mess in the new year. I can't wait for
That's
it.
what this show does best. The Bachelorette gives us love stories. I know lately they're all falling apart, but we got some solid love stories. And The Bachelor gives us indecisive men who have no idea what they're doing. And that's why they picked Clayton, and I cannot apologize enough for doubting them. But,
Same here.
To talk about Michelle, what was your buzzword for this week's episode?
My buzzword was soulmate because she said it to pretty much every single guy. Like, this could be my soulmate. I can see him for the rest of my life. And she said it with each man. So I went with soulmate. How about you?
That was going to be mine. I told you that you stole mine, even though you put it on the sheet first. Soulmate really stuck out to me. I thought it was interesting that she kept bringing that up. A lot of times it was in her like interviews. So I don't know if maybe they were pulling from different episodes or, just trying to make it like a cohesive storyline, because the soulmate conversation was very like top of mind for her, which she's a romantic. I appreciate it. But I just did love, because I feel like there was so much emphasis on falling in love, who's in love. And I was trying to pay really close attention of the wording she used for every guy, because it was different and she made a big point to it. So a classic, but love was on the brain for sure.
I love it. I love it. I love. Who are you shipping this week?
Okay, so we have to get into all of the guys, and I know we will. I have an issue with every single relationship, as I always do. Like, who am I to tell Michelle who she should be with? And the obvious one is Nayte, because she's, seems to be the most into him. But I think that Brandon is just head over heels in love with her. And while I had some issues with some of the things he did and said, which we'll get into, I think that she would have quite the life with him, just cherishing her. It's a little much and a little cringe, but I really do feel like he is all in. And Nayte, in my opinion, was still a little bit saying what he thought he should.
I put Nayte and Michelle too, but I definitely agree with you. I got the vibe where he was like, oh my God, I'm probably going to win this, and I should tell her what she wants to hear, which I hope that that's not the case. But yes, Brandon seems like all in. Like, I am fully in love with this woman. She has just captured my heart, and I will, bend over backwards to make sure that she has the entire world. So yes, he definitely feels very much in love, but I just feel like Michelle, the same way that Brandon feels about Michelle is the way that Michelle feels about Nayte.
I totally agree with that. And let's talk about Nayte a little bit more, because did you get that vibe when she was like kind of walking him through the steps of the show, when it was like, okay, step 1, you're falling in love with me. Step 2, you're in love with me. Step 3, engagement. And he was like processing it. And he didn't say, I love you. He said, yes, I can get there. And then the next morning, all of a sudden it was, I love you. So again, I know the fantasy suite is a big deal in Hannah Brown's book. She's like, that's when I made my decision with Jed, even though I had feelings about the others. I think they've all kind of said that, which makes sense. But I just felt like in their conversation, and she was like, oh, I'm so happy he said what I wanted. I'm like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. No. And even like when she was like, yeah, your stepfather said that like, you're not ready for engagement. Like, he like didn't bat an eye. He's like, yep, pretty much. Like, I'm not ready for this. What's that? He confused me all episode. It was like 1 second he doesn't care. The next second he cares about the other guys. Then he doesn't care again. Like, I just get, even though I was like loving him finally a few weeks ago, I'm getting weird vibes from him again. I don't know why. Like, it seemed like during their conversation when she was like going through the stages of love, like you can like see the beads of sweat, not because they were in Cancun, but just because he was like starting to get like nervous and like being like, what should I say here? What do I do? Like, am I going to come off bad? I don't know. And I agree with you. Like, we like really liked him a couple of weeks ago, and now I'm like kind of on the fence. I don't know. I hope if she picks him, I hope it works out for her, because like I said, she seems very much in love with him. I want to like him so bad. And we'll see if he wins, we'll see what happens. We don't even know, but I guess we should move on to our one-liners, because there was a few in this episode. There were. Mine went to Joe when he was like, I just want to go home. Like, after all of this, he's like, just put me on a plane, send me back to Minnesota, wherever I'm from. But then like you think, because it was in the final 3, that he has to
stay in Cancun until the like engagement is done. So he like, they're not sending him on a plane back home anytime soon. So you feel so bad for him. But like in that moment, you're just like, I get it. He just wants to go home.
100%. And I literally felt like he had instant regret. Like Michelle, it was so heartwarming. I mean, she's a lovely person and that was proven, you know, she's clearly conflicted. Her goodbye, she was saying sorry. She was like, I'm still fine. Like she is clearly feeling all the feels of the show. You can't really fault the leads for that. It kind of is what the show was designed to do. But I felt like it was instant regret from him of like, why did I open up? Why am I doing this? Like I think he regretted going there. And I also think he was pissed at whatever, but at Brandon for his like little side thing, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
But my line of the night goes to Brandon, who like when he said, I'm so sick of keeping it in, I'll put my heart out first and until I take my last, but I don't even know, some long thing about his last breath and his heart. And I was like, is this Shakespeare? Like, is this Romeo and Juliet? What are we doing?
I feel like that was like almost my cringe too, because I was like, oh no, Brandon, like we're going on in this like terrible monologue about like your feelings and your last breath. Like, no, thank you.
Like it was so cringe. And it really did feel sort of like a modern day, like if they wrote Romeo and Juliet with like Bachelorette people. But then at the same time, I was like, oh, but he just loves her so much and maybe she should pick him because he has made it very clear that anyone who is in his life should feel slighted because he made it very clear that Michelle is the only person he cares about at the current moment, which is a little weird, but also kind of endearing. Like I'm very split on how I feel about him, but she also showed me a little bit more emotion towards him. Yeah. She said, I'm falling in love with you too. So I'm kind of interested to know when Michelle does post-interview press, whoever she's with, if she's with someone, I think she's got a lot of like, not explaining to do, but some light shedding because she really did have feelings for all three of them.
Totally. I agree with you. And the thing about Brandon, I don't know, for some reason, he seems a little immature to me. I don't know. There's something about him. He is younger. I mean, I think he's 27, not like super young, but like, I don't know, just something about him. I feel like he's in way over his head. And like, I don't know, he's kind of getting swept up in this whole Bachelor thing, but who knows?
That could be it.
Could be it.
I mean, I'm 27 and people aren't walking around telling me they're going to put their heart on the bar table that we're at. So, I mean, he's definitely like intense, which brings us to our thirst because we're sticking on the Brandon train. What do you got?
Oh, when Brandon pulled Michelle at the rose ceremony, like that is just something you don't do. I don't know. And like, you could tell like the other guys were pissed. Like he is like, and I think it was Nayte that said, you know, he's kind of throwing that Hail Mary. Like he is not feeling like he belongs there anymore because he went first in the fantasy suite date. So he was like, you know, all in his head, which, you know, I totally understand, but like going up to her and being like, this could be the last night that I'm here, blah, blah, blah. And like, who knows, he could have very well ruined it for Joe.
I'm dying to know if that changed her mind at all, because I think it did a few different things for me personally. I'm not really sure what his motive was there, because if it was a latch, just because if he cares about her so much and he was trying to make her life easier by like easing, like if you send me home, it's okay. Like you'll still be my number one. Like that did the opposite. Like it was almost, it's going to make her feel more guilty. Mm-hmm. So was that the play? Was he just so in his head? Like there was so much emphasis on the order of the fantasy suites during this episode. And I feel like half the time they don't even usually air them in order for the viewer, but I can't imagine they misled us here because the guys talked about it so much.
Yeah, that was, God, I don't know. I hope that they do on like after the final rose. I hope they ask that question if that definitely changed her mind. Love to know. What was your thirstiest moment?
My thirst was going to be something about Nayte like changing his mind every 5 minutes, but I actually would like to switch it to Dale Moss and his new rom-com trailer. He has a new movie. And you know what? Like Dale Moss does? Oh, you haven't seen it yet?
No.
It's like a Hallmarky type movie. I cannot remember the title right now. And it's with an actress who was on like Degrassi in the later years, if anyone wants that reference.
Wait, I think I saw this and I thought it was a joke.
Oh, no. It is not a joke. It is called, hold on, I have it up in 1 second. And Claire is already clapping back about it, which is just making me laugh. This trailer came out and I guess people are sending it to her, which is what they do. You know what I mean?
Of course.
It is called Love Game Match. I think he's like a tennis instructor.
Oh my God.
And it's just, going into acting, I respect the Thurston hustle, but it's thirsty nonetheless. And it's thirsty, but I respect also of Claire to post a picture of her in a sauna saying, I've seen the clips. I saw the acting firsthand. Don't worry about it. Like these two just can't quit.
I love it. It feels like she dodged a bullet, maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
No, totally. All right, well, let's get to our cringeworthy moment of the night. What was your cringeworthy?
I think we have the same one, just everything of the guys talking and their awkward pauses. I mean, I go back to Peter Weber's season was the first one when they made them all stay in the house together. And I respect it as a producer move, but it just feels so uncool. Like, I feel bad. It's
so savage. It really is. It's like, they're all have to like sit there and be like, so how was your date? And then like, they're like, yeah, well, I slept over with everybody's girlfriend. Like, this is just so weird. If you step back and like really think about the concept of the Bachelor and the Bachelorette, it's really messed up. Like,
it really is. And doing this part makes it look so messed up. And I can't remember the last time, I was really thinking about it, that all three leads were so enamored and thinking they were going to win from my perspective, where they at least showed us that. Cause I remember talking to like Matt James, like Brie actually was her final three, and she thought she was a front runner, but like from the audience perspective, it was like clearly Rachel.
Yeah.
And I feel like here I was kind of every date I was like, oh, like I could see it here. And every guy was convinced, and they told each other that. So it was the most like cringe in a long time, where I felt like no one was quitting. No one was, like pissed at Michelle, but there was definitely like a lot of tension and build up and cringe about the fantasy suite.
No, totally. I think I almost had it as my line of the night when Joe was like, we just went from friends to foe like really quickly. And, and I feel like we haven't really seen that happen too, because they really do all seem like they're really good friends. And then it all just kind of clicked, being like, oh, okay, we're all like with the same person. This is not what's that?
Those Shakespearean.
Very, very.
Oh, my heart is on the table. Like, I was like, oh, damn.
All right, well, let's hand out some roses.
Yeah, I think we both want to give a rose to Joe, just for the way, he opened up. And then I think it was interesting that it was kind of like a red herring, if you will, when Michelle was talking about how she got this clarity, and you make it seem like that's going to be Joe, but really the clarity she got was that it's not Joe in the fantasy suites, from my understanding. And I thought he just seems, they definitely, their relationship was stagnant, but I enjoyed him on the show. And I think that he handled the exit well, and he should get a rose for that.
I wonder if he did open up earlier on, if he would have gotten further, because she said like in the breakup that she was still falling in love with him. So I wonder if like, they got to that point a little bit sooner, if he would have been like one of the final two. I don't know, but I feel like
100% think these two, if they met, like I know they may have met in Minnesota or whatever, but if they like dated in Minnesota their normal life, I feel like they would have, even if they maybe not have lasted forever, but would have had like a long relationship.
I think so too.
In the real world.
Yeah. I wonder if he'll be on Paradise. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if I'm getting that vibe, or if he's like kind of done with this.
Yeah. It could be like, who was the guy, the cute guy from Tayshia's season that everybody wanted to go to Paradise and then he didn't go. I can't remember his name. He opened up with his eating disorder battle.
Oh my God. I can see his face. I have no idea what his name is.
Yeah. I don't remember his name. Picture here.
Right.
But I could see Joe being one of those guys who like then goes to Paradise and then it like gets a bad edit though, because he had a good one. So
right. Totally. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah. What about packing your bags?
Mine is going to Brandon, because I just feel like he is about to get his heart broken. So boy, pack your bags before it happens. And I feel like we said, this has been such a classic Bachelorette season. I feel like they're going to make him walk down there, do his proposal, and she's going to break his heart. We haven't seen that in a really long time. And I just feel like it's about to happen, and he should just run.
I do too. Devil's advocate, I'll say, when I did speak to Michelle, she kind of was like hinting that maybe it's not what people think. Maybe she's just trying to throw me off, because Nayte has been so clearly, I think, the front runner. Right. So maybe he has a chance, but I agree with you. I think that we're about to see a very sad Brandon.
I do too. Oh, poor guy. How about you?
Oh, just the horseback riding dates. Side note. I mean, no one can ride a horse. It doesn't do anything for the relationship. I remember Tyler Cameron telling us it was his like worst date story, because he was so worried about the horse that he couldn't even talk to Hannah. Horses are great, and horseback riding is lovely. Not for the Bachelorette, I don't think.
I like that one. I think that's a good one. No more. Let's get a little bit more creative with our dates going forward. Yes. But I think we're going to see a lot of dates on Clayton season, because we're finally on the road, which I'm so excited about. We're like finally traveling again, no longer stuck at a resort. So I'm ready for this. for so many different reasons.
I cannot wait. And I just cannot wait for the finale. I feel like that teaser, it looks like her parents are going to get involved. We love, a little bar light action, maybe from her mom, not quite as intense, but definitely his opinions. And I love me and Alive after the final rose. So I'm excited. I feel like we've been missing that a little bit.
Totally. And we are going to, of course, break it all down next Wednesday on Here for the Right Reason. Sarah, who's on the podcast this week?
So you're going to hear my hot take on the episode, but also from Angela, who was on back 2 seasons of Bachelor in Paradise, one who dated Clay.
Oh, yeah.
She is lovely. And she was just on Bachelor in Paradise Canada, and she won. It's a little bit of a different show, but she explains everything about Canada. She found her person. He's really cute. And she shares a lot of insight. We play a fun Bachelor Regrets game with some Clay and Nicole stuff. So if you are interested in catching up with Angela, go listen to the Here for the Right Reasons podcast.
I love that. Make sure to go check it out, and make sure to check back here every Wednesday on Us Weekly's YouTube channel. Keep commenting, keep subscribing. And Sarah and I will see you next week for the big finale. Bye, guys.
Bye.